welcome this morning. Thank you for being on, and we'll try to make this short and sweet. But I do want to leave a little bit of time for discussion at the end too. So please feel free at any time to just unmute and let us know what you want to discuss. Oops. You guys have my contact information, but if you're going to be mailing anything, I just wanted you to, to have my mailing information as well. And you guys do have access to my cell phone number. It's 304-546-6623. If you need to contact me, I'd appreciate it if you just used it when it was really, really urgent, because I get a lot of texts and Facebook messages and that kind of thing. So anyway, thanks for being here. And since there are SLPs available, I just have to show my disclosure. We're going to be talking about the first class permits this morning, as well as the MOUs that they needed to sign to get their stipends, and then the required paperwork that has to be turned in at the end of the year. With the first class permits, to be really, really honest, I wasn't going to mention anything about it this year because I just feel like this particular class maybe isn't as far along as some of the SLPs that we've had in the past. You know, the way the University of Cincinnati program worked, they took people who'd been working in the field. It was strictly for people working in the field in West Virginia. And this cohort from WVU has been kind of an eye-opener as far as, they all started with little to no experience. For the most part, there were a couple of people who've been working in counties for years, but for the most part, they had little or no experience at all walking in. And I'm sure you guys have dealt with that all year. And I just didn't feel like they were ready to step up to being independent. And that's what going on first class permit does. As we've been investigating it this semester, we've found out that, for counselors and psychologists, they have to have 75% of their graduate coursework done before they can go on permit. And we are going to be working with the Office of Certification to update Policy 5202, which has all of the important information for SLPAs and that kind of thing in it. And as we do that, I think we're going to ask that they not receive the first class permit until at least 50% of their coursework has been completed. But for this class, it's going to be still that 25%. So the nice thing about it is, and I think the reason it was implemented in the first place, is that if they're still under SLPA status, their job has to be re-advertised every year. And they stand, there's a potential there that someone could all of a sudden come in and say, with their full certification and say they want a job in Mingo, Berkeley, Lincoln, wherever. And with that, then that other person would, of course, be hired. So this gives them some job security, which I totally understand and appreciate. And there may be a salary increase with it. I tried to look it up yesterday, and our formulas for the pay scale is confusing if you're not, not just like a regularly certified person. So I didn't want to say how much it was. I just say there may be one, and I'll find out for sure how much it is. And the superintendent has to sign off that they're the best candidate for the job. Those are some things to remember about the first class permits for those of you who haven't dealt with this before. You use Form 1/1A, and WVU has to verify that they've completed 25% of their graduate work. When I checked with Dr. Michelle Moore, she said by the time they finish their summer semester, I think they'll have 36% of their coursework completed. And even with that, they may be farther along than I think, and I haven't been on these calls as much because I think it makes Libby kind of nervous when I'm on them for some reason. So, she takes such good care of everyone with the supervisors and the SLPAs. I'm not always on the calls, but I think, just in my mind, maybe they're not as far along to be independent. There's the hyperlink, and I will post the PowerPoints, but there's a hyperlink to our website. It is a paper application. And after they're given this first class permit status, they have 5 years to obtain their master's degree and pass the praxis. We've had a couple of situations where people have gotten their degree but not been able to pass the praxis. And so they have 5 years to get that done. At the end of that time, if they haven't passed the praxis, then they would have to go back to SLPA authorization. I know that there are some people in the cohort who have either gone on maternity leave or will be going, and they're extending their time. So they still have that 5 years to get everything completed before there's a. As an SLP on permit, they don't have to be supervised any longer. But the question I'm going to be telling them to ask themselves when I talk with them, and the question I want you to ask yourself is, are they ready? I don't know their individual caseloads. I don't know your county procedures. I don't know, how they've done this year and how independent you think they are. But I just feel like it's our responsibility to make sure that they are ready. I know it's going to take a lot of responsibility from you for them to be ready. But we just kind of keep going back to the ethical considerations of ASHA, that in order to provide service, they need to, be skilled and know know how to provide services to the student that they're working with. So with their own permit, we don't require anybody to turn in a supervision plan. They still do have to complete the 12 hours of professional development per year, but we'll continue to accept one of their classes through WVU for that, because I know that puts a lot of extra stress on them to have to try to do 12 hours of PD above what they're doing for coursework. And they can practice independently doing evaluations and IEP meetings. But are they ready? I did have a debrief with WVU several weeks ago. And one of the things that we heard from them that the students have been saying is that they, in some cases, have been already doing evaluations and IEP meetings by themselves. And, I'm not sure if that's happening somewhere, but if it was happening up until this point, it should not have been, because that is not part of their scope of practice. But now moving, just to filing this piece of paper and then moving from SLPA authorization to the A1A permit, the 1A permit, now it says they can independently do these things. So I just want you to really think about what is best for you, for the student, and for the children that they serve in your county. This is information and a hyperlink to get to the form. And one of the things that Libby suggested that they do, and I think it's a great idea, is in your SLPA guidance document, there are several forms that they can use to self-evaluate and to really look at their skills where they are now. And they need to be, have a lot of ratings in the 4s to be able to practice independently. And like I said, depending on your caseload and their caseload and their skill set, I don't know their skill set. You guys, I think, together can make this determination, and it might be a really the ratings are subjective, but it's an organized way to look at the situation and kind of step back and say, okay, now that that I've evaluated myself, what do I really think about being able to be independent? This is another form that you would help fill out that just talks about the level of supervision and instruction that you have to provide for them. Um, um, they should be in the fours and fives, really, to be able to practice independently. And this hopefully will give you some ways to kind of narrow the focus as well. And then this is a form where you can provide feedback to, the SLP A can provide some feedback to you. Um, and so um, that I think helps too in the fact that, there may be some things that they just are afraid to say or don't know how to say. And so this might be able to give you some things to discuss as well, as you're trying to figure out whether or not they're ready for that first class permit. Are they ready to be independent as an SLPA at the skill set they have now? Have they had opportunities to observe and assist with evaluations? Are they ready to interpret evaluation results and make a decision? Are they knowledgeable about IEPs? Can they develop their own schedules? And are you ready to talk with parents and staff independently? These are some questions that I'm going to ask them when I talk with them a little later. And I think you guys can use as topics of discussion with them. I understand that, of course, you want to have them be as independent as possible because that's less responsibility for you, and you're already, taking on a whole lot of responsibility being with them. Supervising them. And I understand too that once your special ed director hears that they don't have to have the supervision, follow the supervision plan, and all that kind of thing, that there's going to be possibly some pressure to go ahead and put them on that first class permit because, it's going to give them the opportunity to, um, for you to be able to see more students because you're not having to supervise them as much. So we have to kind of weigh that against their knowledge and skills. And like I said, keeping in mind the ASHA ethical considerations of their training. So, as you guys think about your individual SLPA, the way the guidelines are now, you can, yes, say yes, they're absolutely ready to go. And they can be on first class permit and they don't need support. But what I would like for you to do is even if they're going to go on first class permit, which I think just about everybody will, because like I said, it provides some job security for them. And that is important. But I think if we could just have someone in the county for them to use as a contact person, if you can, continue to be their supervisor, that's awesome because you know them, you've seen what they can do, you know where their weaknesses are. You can help, with the school assignments they receive and the students they receive to see which ones maybe you might want to switch with them and that kind of thing. But still knowing that they need access to a wide variety to get their clock hours. This is just a situation that I just felt like it was important to call to your attention and not just let it go by without saying, that I do feel like there are some things that we need to consider before we just jump right in. And it could be that they just need, your support as far as, when they finish their testing, and come to you and say, this is what I plan to do for this student. Does this look okay? Or maybe just the students that they have questions about that they're not sure about. I still think they need that county contact and that county support. They'll continue to have the WVU clinical supervisors, but you guys know they're only supervising maybe 4 or 5 students at the most. And once the new cohort starts, they're going to be, supervising them as well in the second semester. So I just want to make sure that the support's there for these students. And I think if we can get that policy changed, it'll make it a lot more clear about when they're potentially ready to do it. And I'm hoping that we for this year, can get through this process with support from your counties. And I'm also going to be talking to the directors about this too, because I think it's important for them to know that these students have just not had the experience that the past students who were involved in the UC online program did, because some of them came straight out of college and straight out of their bachelor's degrees. Libby had created this slide that I think, like I said, she mentioned for you guys to prepare your special ed director, and I do want you to do that. But I'm going to be sending them some information in a really quick webinar on Monday. I wanted to wait to see what you guys had to say before I did anything to send to them. But I want them to understand that I still think they need support. We're going to take off the supervision plan. We'll take off the DUSA form. We'll take off the percentages that have to be done. None of that will exist anymore, but I still think they need some supervision, some county contact. And you are the one to best explain to them how much assistance they're going to need. And, just a reminder that this WVU supervisors will still be there. And she wanted you to advocate for mentoring assistance. And I mean, if you feel it's necessary for your individual student. So much of everything that we say is based on the needs of the individual student, and it's just the same here with these WVU students. So, are there any questions? I honestly can't see the chat. So, if you have any questions or concerns you'd like to discuss, you can unmute and talk about it. I'd love to hear what you have to say.
Hi, this is this is Tina Hodges. I was slightly interested in anybody else supervising. I had thought I read somewhere at the beginning of the year that the county itself was supposed to potentially support like a 20% lower caseload duty. And that absolutely didn't happen. I absolutely spent a lot of time with my SLPA this year. And I just wondered what anybody else's experience with that was.
Hey, this is Sarah from Berkeley County. We did decrease their caseload, started out at 32 really, but then increased over the years. They've become more comfortable and kind of always checking in with them about if they're feeling overwhelmed. So they're running right now at about 40. And some of those are SIP kids that they see like once or twice a week for like 5 minutes. So not super complicated. But we did at least start the year with a decreased caseload.
How about the supervisor's caseload, Sarah? Was it reduced too?
Well, I'm in a weird position because I'm lead. And
right.
So I have 2 full-time SLPAs that I supervise, and then I do the lead job, okay. Which I would say takes up about half of my time. So, okay. But we don't have people supervising WVU graduates that aren't in that position. So, but yes, for the other people supervising SLPAs, we tried to keep theirs at like 30 to 35 because we wanted them, we recognized that they had to have time to test all of those people and to attend the IEPs for all of their kids. Right. And one of the things that we're doing, at least I'm working on, and I don't know how WVDE feels about this, but is really reframing how we talk about it. That this is, so for example, right now I have 3 SLPAs, so that I have a caseload of 120 kids, but I have 3 people to help me with it, and sure. They are my assistants. And so that it helps them to understand how much work it really is putting on the SLP when right. You're asking them to supervise. And it also kind of helps that my SLPAs understand that like your job is to help me with these students. And so I feel like they're a little more willing to do some of those things that make copies for me or whatever, that maybe sometimes they feel like that's not my job because that's not my caseload. But really, we all share all of these kids and we're working together on this caseload.
Okay, I like that. As far as the 20%, I'm not sure where you saw that, Tina, but I do know that in the MOU that we're going to talk about next, that they were supposed to sign if they wanted to receive the stipend. It does say that the county will provide a supervisor. And so, you know, trying to make sure that there's still someone who, you know, will be following them is important, but it also talks about reduced caseloads there. And your superintendent and special ed director sign that form. So the forms, in case someone hasn't, let's go on and go to that one because I'm so used to presenting for an hour and I forgot we just have half an hour. I'm sorry. This form is uploaded into your Teams group. If it's not, then I'll get it as soon as the meetings are over. But this should have been signed in the fall if they were planning to accept the stipend. If your students haven't seen it, this form was mailed to the special ed directors. So for some reason your SLPA hasn't signed it, they can still be signed. But in there it talks about the responsibilities of the county and providing the supervisor with reduced caseload is one of them. So we'll look at that too and use that and remind the special ed directors about that. I do need that signed copy returned to me. I can use a scanned copy and the original should be kept within the county, but that does have to be signed before they can receive their stipend. To receive their stipend, because I know I've been getting questions about it, and I'm sure you have too. They have to sign the MOU with all the signatures. They have to pass all their coursework for the 2021-22 school year. I checked WVU's last day of finals, and it's May 6th. So I talked with our finance coordinator yesterday, and he is willing to send the grants to the counties earlier than any other finance coordinators have been. And so they should have the money within the county and be ready to cut the check by June 1st. The check for the first year is $5,000. And at first I was just going to have them email me something that said they wanted the stipend, but since money's involved, I'm going to make a more structured form for them to sign and send back to me. It'll just have to have your special ed director's signature, yours, and this SLPA's. But that's another way to remind the special ed director too that the grant's coming, that they're going to have to make sure to make arrangements for the checks to be cut. Unfortunately, in the past couple of years of the UC program, there were counties who had delays sending checks to the students. And I just really want to try to prevent that from happening this year. That's the reason we're going to try to get on it as early as possible. Libby just wanted me to go through these paperwork requirements that are due by June 1st. She said you've already been through them ad nauseum. And so she just wanted me to go through and just remind you that the verification reports are due by June 1st. Professional development for your SLPAs. There's just a form that I created, and it's just something for them to sign. We told them that we would accept one of their courses as professional development because it was overwhelming for them to think about doing coursework plus 12 additional hours. I'm sure they've received them anyway because they've attended professional development in your counties and that kind of thing. But this is just a memo that they're going to upload to the shared folder that just says they're using this course and that what the name of the course was. So we have some documentation that was addressed. These are just the things that will count. These are the things that won't. And I think you guys are pretty well familiar with all that by now. This is instructing them how to do the memorandum for the courses through WVU that they're going to be using, and there's a copy of it. And then this the DUSA form has to be attached, and everyone has to sign it. At the end of the year, a lot of times we had these uploaded and there was no special ed director signature. And if that happens, we're going to send them back. Just remember that I cannot approve them for SLPA reauthorization if that's the route your county decides to go, or for the first class permit unless we have this verification report turned in. And in the summers, I've had to track people down, and it's very hard to do that. So please impress upon them the fact, I mean, it's their responsibility to turn it all in, but please impress upon them the fact that it needs to be turned in by June 1st, as well as the DUSA form. And Libby said, just remember to do dates, not just check marks, and to save in the shared folder. This is information, I forgot to take that slide out, we've already seen it. And she just wanted me to get some ideas from you guys. And if you want to put it in the chat, in the survey that you do, that'd be fine too, or even email us these suggestions, because, you know, honestly, starting with this first cohort from WVU, it's been different in a lot of cases. You know, the whole admissions process is different. The way WVU handles things is different. And the way the preparation of the students has been different. And so we've learned along the way with this first cohort, and we'd really like some of your all's comments and suggestions, because you guys are experienced supervisors and you know what we could do to make things better. What should we tell the supervisors who are coming in for the next cohort? How should they prepare? And how about communication with WVU supervisors? Has that been going all right? And anything else that you want to share? Okay, so the verification of attendance for this call is due Monday by 11:45. I'm going to drop the link in the chat box in just a second. Please check your responses. So many times we get people filling out the surveys to get certificates and that kind of thing, and they misspell their email address. And when that happens, it messes up our whole Power Automate system. So please, please, please double check that before you turn anything in. And please remember, your feedback is valuable. We do read every bit of it and we try to listen to it and take direction from it when it's possible. So please take time to do that. Let's see, provide suggestions and look at question about certificate and ASHA. There's a new option. So make sure that you look at that. And remember, I'm going to put the link for this call, the live call, in the chat box, and then the QR codes are for recordings. I'm going to let that show for just 1 second. Reference, and then any questions or concerns. So I'm going to put the link in the chat box. While I'm doing that, you guys can, oh gosh, I do see a bunch. Oh, that's my transcription. Oh, good. Oh my goodness. You guys have written a million things in the chat box. Okay, so here is the, whoops.
Leanne, this isn't about the Marshall program. This is,
Okay.
sorry, WVU program, but have you heard anything else about the Marshall program?
Hold on 1 second. That is one of the things that we are going to be working with certification about. Policy 5202. Okay, the link's in the chat box for the survey. One of the things that we're going to be talking to them about is that SLPA certification. We just have to figure out, based on the amount of extra work and extra things that they have to do, extra courses and that kind of thing, how we'll provide that that incentive, if it would be like based on national certification, or if it would be based like on a new job description. So we're working with that with Pam Holland. And one of the other things we're going to be working with them about is something that we ran into with WVU this year as they admitted students to the program who did not have their bachelor's degree in speech language pathology or communication disorders. And policy 5202 specifically says it has to be. So that's one of the things that we're going to be talking with them about so that they can, we're going to have to change policy to admit people who, want to get that SLPA certification and go on to grad school. Honest to Pete, I've had like 5 people this year contact me because they have degrees in other things like linguistics or education or something like that. And they want to get the SLPA certification and then potentially go on to grad school. And we don't want to lose those people. But I also want to be careful that we don't lower the bar as far as policy 5202 is concerned. So we're going to have to be very specific about the coursework that's going to be needed and that kind of thing, and how it would have to be approved by us first before someone could just be admitted. Because if we're not careful, we can have some unanticipated consequences of that. But we don't want to lose those people who are interested in the field, because honestly, when I do the exit interviews with Marshall, I've done that the last couple of years. There's been some people who have been in other fields who, took the coursework to get into grad school for communication disorders, and they, seem to be extremely capable SLPs. So we don't want to lose that set of people, that bunch of people. So we'll keep you posted because we're still moving forward with all of that, and Marshall's definitely moving
But
forward.
you do expect it to get off the ground, because I have not heard anything else, and I'm trying to plan staffing for next year.
Yes, we do expect it to get off the ground. I mean,
Okay, perfect.
they've already been approved to provide the program and that kind of thing. So we do expect it. And there were other counties besides Berkeley who were interested. So we do anticipate that it will be, it will start and come to fruition. Any other questions? Well, I can't thank you guys enough for the job that you do and for providing support to the SLPAs in your county. I know it's extra work. I know it's hard, but honestly, the work that you're doing with them helps them determine whether or not they want to continue in the county. And when they do continue in the county, then you're going to have a certified person there with you. So you guys take care. Please put anything in the survey you want us to know. And I think there's even an other box, put anything you want to in there. We do read it and we're interested. Have a wonderful Easter. And I hope you guys are getting some extra days off besides that. I see, oh, you're welcome, Nikki. Thank you. Like I said, we can't do any of this stuff without you guys. You guys take care. Have a wonderful weekend. I'm going to stop the recording and call us if you need anything. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.